would say I'm not mad, just disappointed. But no, I am freaking irritated and more disappointed than my mom is in me. And that's saying something. Okay, so I just finished The Last of Us 2. And I really wanted to make this video as kind of a half analysis of what went wrong and half as a rant of how upset I am at this absolute piece of garbage of a game. Okay, so first off, just keep in mind, this is my opinion. You know, as a film student, as a certified weeb, and as a gamer girl. Don't take this to heart. But with that being said, it's a shame what they did to this game. The Last of Us is still to this day one of my favorite zombie survival games I have ever played. It is a masterpiece and it is amazing. If you haven't played The Last of Us 1, you need to play it because I'm going to be spoiling both The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2, and so I highly recommend it. It is amazing on all accounts, and if you can't afford it, I would honestly recommend watching your favorite game commentator play it. It's just as good. And if you haven't seen or played The Last of Us 2, then good. Keep it that way. It's not worth your time. For those of you who need a quick recap on what happened in the first game, or don't really care about what the game is about and just want to hear me rant, then I want to first start off with a quick summary to give you more context and backstory to why the second game is an absolute disgrace. So, in the first game, we're introduced to a new take on a zombie apocalypse, being done with a fungal infection. And so we're introduced to our two main characters, Joel and Ellie. Joel being this badass Texan, and Ellie being a super strong, witty, sailor mouth girl, who I absolutely love. So Joel has been through a lot in The Last of Us, with the first major thing happening is him losing his daughter, which that plays a huge role into his character and character development. And Joel is tasked with escorting Ellie across the country, because later on they find that she is immune and she could have the key for the cure. So both Joel and Ellie go through a lot of hell, pain, suffering, and loss along the way. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Where, until the end, it's revealed that the group, the Fireflies, who sent Joel on this mission, are gonna have to kill Ellie to have a chance for the cure. And with everything that Joel has been through, he's not about to lose Ellie. So he decides to go Rambo and save her. So basically, Joel's and Ellie's relationship is kind of the heart and soul of the game, and for many of its themes. They go through a lot of character development as Joel opens up, begins to warm up to Ellie, and it becomes this really cool and complex father-daughter relationship that we get to experience grow throughout the game. So this is basically like the important parts you need to know of the first game. So with this game having such amazing gameplay and story, you would expect that the long-anticipated sequel, that has been in development for 7 years, mind you, will be good. Right? Right? Well, wrong. Now, just a heads up, I won't be talking much about the LGBTQ controversy of the game. That's not really what I want to discuss here, and that stuff is honestly something that can be done in a whole separate video because there's a lot to it. As somebody a part of the community, I kind of see the point and do agree that the lesbian relationships and the whole trans part of the game was kind of forced, and I'd rather have seen that developed and handled a bit better. But a lot of people are quickly pointing to the game having its agenda where white straight males and Christians bad, which I don't really think is the intent of the game, even though I kind of see how people can get that perception of it. But I haven't really, gathered my thoughts or really dive deep into this topic. The only thing that I want to say about it is that it shouldn't matter who a character is, and you shouldn't write your character to be something that it's not. A good character is a good character. It doesn't matter their gender, race, religion, sexuality. A good character will always be a good character, and you should write your character how you want to write it, or force it to be what you think others would want it to be and not what your image is. Anyway, let's finally get into the reason why you're all here and the whole point of this rant. So, in my opinion, there is this one key specific point in the game where everything goes to hell. It goes down this long rabbit hole of just terrible decisions and writing choices that's made. It's just awful after a point. So let's talk about like what led up to this point, because it happened really early on. So basically, the game starts off innocent enough. It starts with Joel giving a good recap. It has some good callbacks. Joel wanting to teach Ellie guitar as a, callback to the first game where he said, if we make out of it, I'll teach you how to play. And we basically start with Ellie. Stuff happens that I really don't care about, to be honest. Joel and Tommy are on an assignment, so Ellie and her friends go on an assignment where they're supposed to switch off. And along the way, we actually switch perspectives, and we play as this brand new character called Abby. Now, my first opinion was, why are you playing as a new character? Because putting a new character in there makes no sense to me. We don't have any connections with this character, and why would anyone care, honestly? So I was really confused when that happened. But anyway, you end up playing with her for a little bit, and she gets attacked by runners. And Joel and Tommy actually end up finding her and saving her, and they make it back to her lodge to be safe. Okay, so now listen closely. This is where the game goes from okay to flat out horrible. They kill Joel. Sorry, I couldn't keep it any longer. They freaking kill Joel. They really do it. I can't believe this. Like, honestly, I was in such utter shock because not only did they kill Joel, a beloved character, so early in the game where you don't even get to play as him. You don't. And this is the second time we actually seen him, mind you. So it's less than like 20 minutes in. Not only do they kill him for really no reason, but they do it in the most disrespectful, insulting, and stupidest way I could have ever imagined. This amazing, badass man who has been through so much, survived so many events, and been stabbed in the gut for Christ's sake, and was still a badass throughout the entire thing. This tank of a man, this character that's gone through so much development, who we gotten so close to, is just killed like that by teenagers. Not even a respectable death. It's just, hey, we're teenagers. Oh, we caught you off guard. Now you're dead. Oh, not only are you dead, but we're going to torture you to death for reasons that you don't even know. I was crying throughout the entire part of that because it wasn't a good death, and it was so sad and heartbreaking for the last words for Joel to hear being Ellie saying,
"Joel, fucking get up! Please stop! Please don't shoot! Joel, please get up!"
Just the way he was taken out and killed and how it was handled is an insult to the game's story and themes, to him as a character, and to us as the players who have been on this huge journey with him. It's an utter insult. But, okay. They obviously had to have a good reason for doing it, right? Right? I mean, for all these teenagers to be searching for years, tracking him down for this long, there has to be at least some good, valid reason why they're doing this. Oh my god, it's infuriating. Okay, so, remember the doctor from the first game? Yeah, the one that nobody cares about or even remember existed? Yeah, this one. The one who threatened to kill Joel, and keep in mind, Joel is trying to save Ellie at this point. The one that the game forces you to kill, you don't even get a choice in the matter? Yeah, well, apparently, he had a child. And she was filled with such this murder boner that she spent her whole life tracking Joel down and killing him. What kind of reason is that? That's not a good reason. It is so stupid. It doesn't even give us a reason to care about the character or validate their reason for killing him. But, putting my biased, bitter, butthurt feelings aside, it makes no sense story or character development wise. Now, this is really what I want to talk about. So, killing a beloved character, especially when it's a main character, is something that is hard to do and is rarely done in a right way in any medium, whether that be video games, movies, TV shows, animes, books, etc. And I kind of explained a little bit how stupid and forced it was, but I really want to farther explain why it's so bad. Because you can't kill off a character for no reason or a stupid arbitrary reason that makes no sense. And to illustrate how bad this is, I want to talk about a game that has a good main character death. So I'm going to be talking about, for just a minute, Telltale's The Walking Dead. So if you haven't played it, again, I recommend it. The first season is really good. So there's going to be spoilers for the ending of that. In The Walking Dead, we follow this character, Lee, throughout the entire game as he finds Clementine, and our entire job is to survive and take care of Clementine. We're there to try and find her parents, to keep her safe, to teach her how to survive. And his death at the end works in such an amazing way because eventually Clementine is going to have to be able to take care of herself, you know? Lee isn't always going to be there to save the day, to kill that zombie or save her from this terrible person. And she's going to eventually have to learn to defend herself. And throughout the game, Lee is accomplishing that. He's teaching her how to shoot. He's teaching her how to care for herself. He's being a good parent, a good guardian. And that's really what he wanted, was to keep her safe and to know that she's going to be okay on her own. And because since he isn't going to be there forever, sadly it's sooner than later. And his death is a very sad yet powerful death, because in his last moments, he's walking Clementine through what to do and how to survive, knowing that she is going to be okay and knowing that he did everything he could in the right way. It is such a sad moment, but a powerful one that speaks to the themes and gives so much life and meaning behind Clementine surviving. And it's a theme that carries throughout a lot of the seasons. That is a death that has a purpose. That's a death that has a meaning, and that is a death where he died honorably. Now, back to The Last of Us 2. Did Joel's death have any of that? No, it didn't. It wasn't done for a good reason. It didn't serve any sensical higher function. It didn't expand on themes or morals. It made no sense. It was done in such a disrespectful and awful way. Like, I don't know who up there for some reason hated Joel that badly, but if they really hated him, there are so many better ways to kill off your main character than that pathetic excuse of a death that we got. But, okay, so the game tries to make this point. So the reason why Joel was killed now is because it serves the purpose of continuing the plot, which now becomes a revenge plot. So I have some problems with revenge stories. Not to say that it can't be done well. There are many examples where it's done well. But it's kind of a cheap out for me, because when a character is at their lowest, all they have to do is remember why you're doing this, because they killed my parent. You know? Or they wiped out my whole entire nation. I have to find the strength. And they find the strength in that revenge and not necessarily themselves or any other good reason. It feels... Revenge stories can get very plot contrived, is the problem. And now, because of Joel's death, Ellie is fueled by this revenge. And it does terrible things to the writing and to her character development. This revenge plot gets so out of hand. The problem with Ellie being so hell-bent on revenge Even when, you know, her best friends and her love interest and other characters actively tell her do not let it consume her, she still does it, and it destroys her character and sets back what character development she got from the first game. It's the people or the higher ups who decided to make these choices. They wanted to make her into a villain, and oh boy did they freaking make her into this unlikable character. She comes off as just so broken and so apathetic to the people around her. It does nothing but ruins her character. That's not a character development. It's not. You know, the game disgustingly tries so hard to make Joel and Ellie into the bad guys, which, for one, goes against the first game entirely in all of its morals and themes, and it makes absolutely no sense to their characters. They're not bad guys. Everything that they went through, everything that we saw and we have attached to them, it makes no sense why they would go in this direction. I just don't understand it. Ugh, but what's worse than trying to make Joel and Ellie the villains of this freaking story is that they tried to make Abby and her crew the sympathetic and good guys. They push really freaking hard for Abby. You know, keep in mind, Abby, the girl who killed Joel throughout the entire game, and actively does take pleasure in violence later on in the game as well. Is also not really apathetic to people in bad situations, and rather just resort to killing.
She had nothing to do with this. She's pregnant. Good. Abby.
They push her to be this, you know, good person when she's not. Now, don't get me wrong, Ellie at this point isn't a good person because they destroyed her character so much. I'm sorry if I'm repeating that a lot, but that's really all I can say. They make Ellie go into this violent murder rampage and literally kills everybody involved in Joel's death except the actual killer, which makes no sense at all. If they were gonna force her to be this villain, they even failed at that. I just don't understand. But anyway, back to Abby. You know, I hate her partly because she killed Joel, but also because her character herself is just, she's very wishy-washy, and I honestly can't tell when she acts out of character because her character is just all over the place. And with that being said, how all over the place and bad of a character Abby is, her development is better than Ellie's, which says a lot. Abby's revenge is technically more fleshed out, and her character goes through more complexity than Ellie in this season. But I think the reason why Abby is more fleshed out than Ellie is in The Last of Us 2 is because the game, again, tries so damn hard to make her redeemable that they give all the character development, which is trash character development, to her specifically. Ultimately, The Last of Us 2 is just a huge mess filled with plot contrivances, awful writing, non-existent character development, and no cohesive storytelling whatsoever. The game fails on itself as an actual game, but it fails even more to be a good sequel. Now, the criteria that makes a good sequel is very subjective, but I found that these 4 points are kind of the best ways of telling what a good sequel should do and how well it did. So these 4 points are: number 1, expanding the universe in meaningful ways. Number 2, continuing the story in a new compelling way. Number 3, exploring new compelling themes or expanding on the themes of the original. And 4, leaving a positive impact on the franchise. And it fails all these points. So the first point, expand the universe in a meaningful way. It really doesn't do that. They could have gone in many other directions, but it just feels like filler that nobody really cares about that expands the universe. It doesn't do much. Number 2, continuing the story in a new compelling way. Well, they continued the story, and yeah, that's all you can really say about that. And 3, expanding on the themes of the original. Well, you can't really expand on the themes when a lot of them centered around the character development of Joel and Ellie, and you decide to kill one of the main characters off in the first freaking 20 minutes of the game. and 4, leaving a positive impact on the franchise. I don't even have to explain why this failed. Now, before I give my final thoughts, I kind of want to give my opinion on how I would make the game better, or kind of like what direction I would go in, because I can see the comment now being like, well, if you can make a better video game, then you should do it yourself. You know, which is a terrible argument for anything, because you think every movie critic has made a movie themselves. But anyway, the way I would make the sequel much better is, number 1, just don't kill all of your main characters. Just don't kill off the likable characters, okay? It's not gonna end well. But number 2, if you really are hell-bent on killing Joel off, then there are respectful ways that you can go about it, because you as well as I know that the only acceptable way that Joel will go out is protecting or saving Ellie. That's the only good, commendable way that he would die, and you can't convince me otherwise. But the idea of Joel's past actions, like killing the doctors and all the death that he's caused, is actually kind of a solid idea. But they really need to expand upon it and make it more believable. So maybe the Fireflies aren't gonna, you know, just let Ellie, the cure for humanity, walk away that easily. So maybe the Fireflies are back and they're trying to capture Ellie. And so now you're putting Tommy and his place at risk, Ellie's at risk. You can tie in people wanting to murder Joel for revenge into that much easier, so they're both in danger. And I can see a lot of ways you can just go with that idea. Yeah, another idea that I have, it's a bit more out there, I'm not really sure if it would work, but I kind of want to just mention it, is maybe Joel gets captured. I don't know how you would capture Joel because he is a badass, but let's skip over that little plot point. But maybe Joel gets captured and they use him as a hostage to get to Ellie for her to give herself up. And I think this would be cool because it's a contrast to the first game where Joel had to be the one to save Ellie as she tried to escape, I think, those raiders or that other faction. But in this time, it's Ellie going to save Joel, and then of course Joel can like try to escape, and then you have the two trying to find each other and trying to save each other from the, you know, the Fireflies or the group or organization or whatever the bad guy is. And it would make the reunion of the two like much more powerful and special, because it would be cool if you start the game off with them not together so that like halfway through they can be together. I don't know, you probably have an idea that's way better than what we were given. Now, I know I've been bashing on this game a lot and talking about it very negatively, and I feel like that's kind of unfair to only focus on those negative parts, so what I want to do is briefly talk about, well, what are the good aspects of this game? What did it do right? Well, for starters, it's a Naughty Dog AAA game, so obviously the gameplay and the coding, it's going to be smooth and top-notch, which it is. The things that I liked that they added were the ability to crawl, jump and grab on the things, go through small holes, and made a lot of the running segments a lot more tense and a lot more fun. And just like the first game, The Last of Us 2 does an amazing job at making a very linear game feel like it's very open world with everything you can explore. And while the fighting mechanics haven't really been changed much from the first game, it's still good. Like, I would like to see more variety in the enemies, maybe variety in the weapons, but, you know, it's just as good as the first game, so you can't really complain too much. And you know how some games are just basically interactive movies? Well, the Last of Us franchise is amazing at making their game feel both like a movie, with all of its cutscenes and amazing graphics, as well as a video game. Which, speaking of, its graphics, its texturing, lighting, animation, modeling, all that is visually phenomenal. It's stunning. It's beautiful. However, beauty isn't skin deep. And for those of you who say that the story or the characters don't really matter, all that matters is that it's a good gameplay and it's fun, well, The Last of Us isn't marketed around solely its gameplay. It's not a platformer or multiplayer game where the whole story doesn't matter, where you're focused on the gameplay. It's one of its selling points is how great of a story it is, how cinematic it is, and considering they had real actors in mocap to play the roles to make it more like a movie, speaks for it. The story itself is just as important as the actual code and gameplay of the game. And that's what made the first game so special to so many people like me. And when companies make sequels like this, it makes me think that whoever's in charge just really has no idea what made their first game so special and memorable in the first place. They don't understand their audience or what made it good. And the second game could have been and should have been so much better. I won't let it affect the masterpiece that was the original game, and you shouldn't either. But it'll always be a major disappointment and a disgrace to one of the best zombie shooter survival games created of all time. Oh dear God, don't make a third one!
You say that I should probably start to walk away. I'm hoping that you stop and make me have to stay, 'cause I'm floating in your orbit.